Right now, I'm about to make a huge decision. What school do I want to commit to? What school do I most likely want to spend the next 3 to 4 years of my life with? But first, let me take y'all back and give y'all the story how I got to this point. Now, first off, my name's Javante Green, and I grew up in LA, and I was lucky enough to have both my parents in my life, though they did end up splitting up before I went to high school. And the crazy thing is, I actually didn't even play football here in LA. Now, what happened was that my mother ended up moving to Texas after splitting up with my father, and she brought me with her. And this move would change a lot. Because going into high school, I've always loved soccer, always played it, but for some reason I ended up losing the love for it. But I still wanted to play a sport. So after talking it through with my parents, I'm going with football. And that would end up being one of the best decisions I could have ever made. Now, more specifically, we ended up moving to Dallas, Texas. So I ended up trying out for Duncanville High School. And look, I was going into it knowing that this was definitely not going to be easy, especially since the only time I ever really played football was with friends as a kid, backyard football. But not only that, I was trying out for Duncanville football, which is like one of the best football schools in Texas. So it's most definitely going to be a challenge. But with a background in soccer, I was hoping I'll be able to, catch on quickly so I can make the team. Now, in tryouts, I was most definitely nervous, but I had to say I didn't do terrible, but I didn't do amazing either. See, in tryouts, I would quickly start to realize what I'm good at and what I'm not so good at. And the crazy thing is that the coaches allowed people to be out in the crowd and the audience so that, we could have a little bit of pressure on us. So, people are watching us like it's an actual game. And I guess you could say that added on to my nervousness. But this was my opportunity and I had to take advantage of it. So I tried to block out the audience the best I could. Now, at first, I tried to run it back, but I would soon realize that I'm not fit for that position at all. Like, I'm about 5'8", 5'9", I only weigh like 160 wet. So yeah, that position most definitely was not happening. Like, especially with how much bigger the linebackers and linemen were compared to me, like I wasn't trying to get tackled by them dudes at all. And now quarterback, I ain't even try. And to be honest, there's no reason to explain that one. I ain't even got to. But I would soon start to find out what position I might be good at, and it actually ended up being 2 positions, wide receiver and cornerback. And to be real, I feel like it's because I have that soccer background. And to play soccer, you gotta have pretty good footwork, speed, and quickness. So I feel like I caught on pretty quickly on the route running part. Matter of fact, I look like a natural out there. And it seemed like route running was my best attribute because no one could really stay in front of me in tryouts. Like, whether it was a slant, dig, corner, I was killing them boys out there. And I'm not the fastest, but I definitely got some speed on me and I'm real agile. But as y'all know, it ain't that easy to be a wide receiver because being a wide receiver ain't just about route running, as I would soon find out that I struggle at catching the ball, and this was a big problem. And due to this problem, I ended up trying out for cornerback as well, and I did pretty good. My footwork was pretty good, my hits were okay, and I looked like a pretty decent cornerback. And you know what they say about corners. But to be honest, I honestly enjoyed playing wide receiver more than I did corner. But at the end of the day, whatever the team needed most is what I was going to be. Because at the end of the day, I just wanted to play. Now, after tryouts, I was way more nervous than when I was actually trying out. But I would soon find out that the coaches actually saw something in me because they let me on the team. And the head coach ended up letting me know that if I put in the work, I could honestly become a big playmaker for the team eventually, especially as a wide receiver. But he told me I just got to put in that work because, yeah, that catching thing can't happen. But on all the other things that being a receiver, I'm real good at it. So, hey, I took that to heart. Now, after being noticed by the coaches, I immediately got to putting in work and practice, as I already knew what I needed to work on, which was my catching ability. And so I went straight to work with the JV starting quarterback in practice, because for my freshman year, I was on JV. And I had to prove to them why I deserved to be on varsity. So I had to put in that work and just get better every single day. Coming into my first season, my freshman year, I knew I had something to prove, and that is the coach's belief in my potential. And since I was starting, I was able to do my thing, which I did. In my first game playing JV, I was balling out, but the thing was, I was getting plays that made sure it was easy for me to really catch the ball, like screen plays, little short routes, and stuff like that. But I was also put on the outside from time to time, able to just show off the versatility that I can have at wide receiver. And yeah, I was doing my thing. But I mainly showed out when it came to like screen plays, the jet sweeps, the short passes and everything like that. Because I was able to catch that ball, use my agility to pick up extra yards, and it looked real good. And they had a lot of plays where I was able to use my speed, like here when I got wide open down the middle of the field and hit my little dancey dance in the end zone. Now, as that catching problem wasn't as prevalent here, still, if I got hit while trying to catch that ball, most likely was going to drop it. But still, I was still able to ball out, catch multiple touchdowns in this game. Matter of fact, I went crazy, as I ended up having 12 catches, 164 yards, and 2 touchdowns in my first game on JV. And I would continue this dominance throughout my entire freshman year. I mean, it was like nobody could guard me out there. But the thing was, as I was doing this on JV, and as I was doing my thing and stuff, there's still times where, I showed my disadvantages, things I'm not that good at. And due to this, coach felt like it was better for me to just stay on JV, keep on progressing, keep on getting better, and, eventually get to varsity. But that didn't happen yet. And it didn't end up happening up until halfway through my junior year. And this was due to a couple of things that really hindered my success on the football field. With the main thing being that my work ethic really wasn't as good as it should have been. Like, I gotten better, but not a lot better, and definitely not as good as I should have been at this point in my football career. Especially with me being undersized, I needed to work way harder. But then after realizing I was going to end up being a senior playing JV, I knew something had to change. And something did. My mindset. That realization was all I needed to really take off. See, in my junior year, I had improved on everything the coaches saw as my weaknesses. Drop passes, physicality, finally put some weight on, and I even got lucky enough to grow 1 inch since my freshman year. So I was about 5'9" at this point and about 170 pounds going into my junior year. And while that's really not a lot, and I was obviously still undersized, but hey, I was way more of a dog than I was in my previous years, and I was way more hungry for recognition, and soon enough, I would get that recognition, because halfway through my junior year, I was balling harder than I ever had. I was showing off the things that I had improved on, like my speed, agility, catching, route running, everything. And the varsity coach saw my improvement, and he decided that it was finally time for me to move up to varsity and see if my talent would transfer playing against varsity players. But first, he had to make sure that he made the right choice, so his decision wasn't final on letting me play in the next game yet. See, coach was going to make that decision based on how well I played in practice, and I was up to the challenge, because with how much work I had been putting in, there was no way I was going to allow my opportunity to get on varsity to go to waste. And I didn't, because in my first practice with the varsity team, I looked like I fit right in, and all the work I was putting in looked like it was paying off, because it looked like every pass that was thrown to me was caught. I wasn't winning every single rep, but I won a good amount of them, and a good amount was all the coach needed to see, as he pulled me to the side and said, "Welcome to the varsity team." And man, when I tell y'all the excitement I felt at that moment, like I literally just started taking football seriously a couple years ago. And now I'm on the varsity squad. Crazy. Now, even though I had made my way on the varsity, that didn't mean I was going to immediately play, as I was really only going to be able to get in the game when it was basically over with. But I didn't complain, because at the end of the day, I was playing on varsity, and that's what I wanted. And not only that, I just couldn't stress too much, because I was only in my junior year, so I had a whole senior year to really gain recognition from college scouts. Going into the final game of the regular season, I would finally get an opportunity to play a full game, like a whole game, because the main slot receiver had a day-to-day injury. In this game, he wasn't going to be able to play, so coach felt like it was the perfect time to bring an underdog junior wide receiver off the bench. And I'm going to be honest. Now, I know y'all probably expected me to say that I went crazy in this game, but unfortunately, I didn't. I didn't play terribly, but you could definitely tell that I was nervous out there. Like, I looked like a junior who finally got his first varsity start. My routes were a little shaky, dropped a couple passes, but that didn't last the whole game though. Because going into the second half, while we was down by 2 touchdowns, I ended up breaking free for a huge touchdown down the sideline off a streak route. Just completely burnt that DB. And off that play, we carried that momentum through the rest of the game, especially me, because when we eventually tied the game back up, I scored a touchdown off a jet sweep to take the lead. And at this point, I could tell that my coach was real proud of me right now, because he saw my potential, and hey, it was really paying off in this game. And like, even though it was a real close game and I really need to stay locked in, I just couldn't help but to keep smiling, because hey, I was doing my thing on varsity. And even though I started a little bit shaky, I did not let my opportunity go to waste. Now, we were going to win this game, and I ended up putting up 8 catches, 166 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Not only that, but maybe even a starting spot. Well, that starting spot didn't end up happening, as even though I did play well in the last regular season game, it was playoff time, and the slot receiver that was injured was ready to play, and the team could not afford to not have him out there, because he was the best playmaker on the team and a senior, and obviously a guy who had way more offers than I did. And so I was back to the bench, waiting for another opportunity. But in the back of my mind, I knew that no matter what, there's no way I don't start next year. And it was obvious that coach made the right decision because we were going to win the state championship versus DeSoto. And even though I didn't get to play as much as I wanted, I was excited and ready for next year because I want to be the reason why we win the state championship next season. Going into my senior year, knowing that this was going to be my last opportunity to be recognized by college scouts, I knew it was time to really lock in. And now this time around, I didn't get any taller, but I did gain some weight, getting to around 175 to 180 pounds, depending on the day. Also, I put in the most work I ever had, like barely any off days during the off season, and that's how it should be. Cause even though I did believe I could have a great year and impress college scouts, I knew that I was undersized still. So my work ethic had to be better than everybody else's. And of course, I had a chip on my shoulder cause being undersized and being a one-star receiver, I knew I had a lot to prove. Heading into our first game of the year, my first game of my senior year, coach had let me know that I'm now the starting slot receiver on the team, and I'm gonna be honest, I already knew that. I was just waiting for him to tell me. And now, at this point, with the keys in my hands, ain't no way I let this opportunity go to waste. I had one whole season left to gain some recognition and some scholarships. My last opportunity. Now, to be honest, a lot of people coming into the season didn't believe that we'll have a good year. I mean, this is the first year where we had a whole lot of changes happen to the team, as literally all the wide receivers that were starting last year were seniors, and now they're in college. But not only that, last year's starting quarterback went off to college as well, so we basically got a whole new team, and a lot of people don't believe that we'll be successful. But me, I'm seeing this as an opportunity to really show out, and I was seen to be the #1 wide receiver on the team. Well, at least in my mind, but in reality, there was another senior who moved here from LA, the same place I'm from. His name was Elijah Meredith, and he was previously the starting wide receiver for his high school, but now he was looking to be the #1 wide receiver for this team, and he was immediately moved up to varsity after coach saw his film, and I couldn't blame coach because bro was a 5-star receiver who had proved to be a problem on the field. But even knowing all that, I was still up to the challenge, and I let him know that because now it was my time to shine. But little did we know, we would soon enough be sharing the spotlight together, but that's for a later date. See, during the season, we would be competing with each other basically, and that just made us play even harder. And I knew that this was gonna make us a crazy duo. Going into the season, me and Elijah knew what we had to do, because we're basically a new Duncanville team. We were the 2 best players. Well, he was known as the best, and I just felt like I was up there with him. But at the end of the day, the only thing that mattered is that I needed to go crazy. And I was planning on it. As a matter of fact, here in this first game of the season, we was both going crazy. And we were both doing our thing, as coach had plays designed for us to take over the game. And we ain't disappointed at all. And it's just crazy because we're really kind of both undersized wide receivers. I'm 5'9", he like 5'10". So we was like the undersized duo. And in our first game playing with each other, we both put up some good stat lines. As I put up 7 catches, 156 yards, 3 touchdowns, and him 4 catches, 139 yards, and a touchdown as well. So we did not disappoint. Now, after that crazy game, it seemed like things were finally coming through for me because I had finally received my first offer, and it was to UTEP. And even though it is just a small school, just the fact that I finally got my first D1 offer just meant everything to me. And it just motivated me to go even harder because the sky was the limit for me. But it got even crazier from then because I was going to have a game that I didn't think I'd ever be able to outdo. Like, from the start of the game, I set the tone. Coach set up a jet sweep for me on the first play of the game, and I broke free for a huge touchdown. Now, normally, I'm not the disrespectful type, but here, I was feeling like that. I went into the end zone, dropped that ball right there, just put it down, and walked away. Like, I don't know who I was feeling like, but hey, nobody was gonna stop me. And at this point, I had that feeling. That feeling when you know you in the zone and you finna have a crazy game. If you know, you know. Like, in this game, it looked like I was the 5-star wide receiver, but I wasn't. Just a now 2-star wide receiver with something to prove. And I was definitely proving that I was better than a lot of people thought I was here in this game. I was basically unstoppable. And me being undersized meant nothing in this game at all because I even head-topped someone. And to be honest, I really wasn't expecting the quarterback to throw this ball, but before I knew it, I was in midair dunking on that dude. And I was able to come down with it too, just nasty. And it's crazy because even though Elijah and some of the other guys had good games as well, all their games was just overshadowed by mine. As my stats were just insane in this game, as I ended up having 12 catches for 334 yards and 5 touchdowns. And I continued that dominance throughout the season, receiving even more offers. And those offers really started to come in. Like, I started to receive some offers from pretty good schools like UNC, Georgia Tech, SMU, and even Florida, just to name a few. Because at this point, I was a 4-star wide receiver, but with half a season to go, I still had a lot of progress to make it to the place I wanted to get to, being a 5-star and being the #1 receiver in the nation. And now, with the season almost being over with, I knew that this next game versus DeSoto was going to be a huge one. Because if you know about that Duncanville versus DeSoto rivalry, yeah, it gets crazy. Especially after we just beat them last year in the state championship. They was looking for revenge. But unfortunately for them, I was having one of those stretch of games like that was unstoppable. And this game ended up being insane. Now, even though my stats weren't like the game I had earlier on in the season, this game was more about the highlights I had. As I started the game off with a screenplay, made a couple people miss, and took it to the crib and did my little dance. And at this point, the dance was really trademarked by me because I damn near did it every single time. But anyways, this play would go viral. But that wasn't the only crazy play I had in this game, because we'll find ourselves down by 3 points going into the 4th quarter. And I took it upon myself to basically take control of the drive myself, to set up our running back to get an easy run into the end zone to take the lead. And for some reason, Elijah wasn't really doing much in this game. But when we really needed him, he finally came through and got a big play touchdown off a post route that extended our lead to 11 with just under 2 minutes left in this game. And at this point, we had all the momentum, and DeSoto could do nothing about it. As we ended up winning this game, and I put up 6 catches, 183 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It felt like I was on top of the world, receiving even more offers and more recognition. But I would soon fall from the top of the world. And just when I thought I was in a great position, see, we dominated for the rest of the year, and then it was playoff time, first round. But there was a huge problem. Our number 2 cornerback was hurt, as he ended up getting injured in the last game of the regular season. And we really didn't have many good options that could replace him. So I told coach I'd do it and play both positions, wide receiver and corner. Now, the only reason why I did this is because I've been practicing behind the scenes as a cornerback, because at the end of the day, I just wanted something I could fall back on, just in case the wide receiver position didn't work out. So, I've been practicing. And so I figured that this was a time to, shock everyone and show what I could do on defense as well. And well, let's just say that my practice playing cornerback was not paying off. I mean, at least at the start, as I wasn't allowing the big plays, but when it was like a 3rd and 2, all they needed was a slant. They was able to pick it up on me. I wasn't ready for the short routes. And the guy was guarding, he thought he was cold. He kept on talking trash to me. But after a couple of allowed catches, I was finally able to figure out what the guy's weakness was. And I found out that this dude wasn't trying to get physical. So I got to pressing him, putting my hand right in his chest every time he got off that line, just breaking him down. And after I started doing that, at that point, bro was locked down. And I kept getting in his head as well. And soon enough, I ended up coming away with an interception. And I didn't even have to press on this play. I just baited him up. And then on the offensive side, it was just business as usual. Y'all already know. As in the drive after me getting that interception, we'd have made our way all the way down to the red zone. And I ended up getting a jet sweep and got into the end zone with it, scoring my touchdown. But then I would soon start to regret playing on both sides of the ball, because I was basically on the field for the entire first half with almost no breaks, as I wanted to do as much as I could to help win this game. But then it happened. Coming out into the 3rd quarter, while receiving the ball on a jet touch pass, and I mean, as soon as I tried to cut that corner, I pulled my right hamstring. Well, that's what I thought. I would soon find out that I tore my hamstring instead. Luckily, it was only a mild tear, but unluckily, I ended up having to sit out for the rest of the playoffs. But it didn't end there, because after that injury, a couple colleges that gave me an offer pulled them, because with me being undersized and relying on my speed and quickness, they wanted to be safe. They didn't know how I was going to be after I recovered from the injury. And so at this point, it just felt like everything that I had worked for was just falling out of my hands. All because I just wanted to do everything I possibly could to get to that state championship. And instead, I overworked my legs. I guess not everybody got the genetics to be a Travis Hunter. Now, with me not being able to play for the rest of the playoffs, I had to watch from the bench, just like how I did at the end of my junior year. Now, at the back of my mind, I was thinking maybe the team isn't going to be that good since I'm not on the field anymore and I was one of the best playmakers on the team. Shoot, probably the best. But instead, the team used my injury as motivation and made it back to the state championship. And guess who we played? DeSoto, once again. And since I couldn't be the one to do them boys dirty this time around, Elijah took it upon himself to carry the load of the offense as he had been doing up until this point in the playoffs. Now, Elijah wasn't the only player to really step up though, as our starting running back, Alex, was running better than he ever had during the season. fighting for every single yard. And of course, our quarterback Cameron, he's been real consistent all year, and he stayed consistent in this game, even without me. So by the fourth quarter, when we was up by 14 points with the ball, Elijah killed his man on the outside for a big touchdown, which basically ended the game. And so we won the state championship once again, back to back. But once again, I had no part in it, and it ate me alive, hurt me. Because at the end of the day, there was nothing I could do about it. I had to make it seem like I was happy for everyone since we won, but on the inside, I knew that I was in a complicated situation. And now that y'all all caught up, it's time to make that decision. What college should I commit to? Should I go to one of the smaller schools that didn't put their offer? Or should I go to a bigger school and try to work my way up the depth chart and prove myself once again? Y'all let me know.